Royal weddings. Lavish, extravagant, romantic.
Royal weddings are a big deal. They are the fairy tale element to the royal family.
Filled with countless traditions, started by the original trailblazing bride, Queen Victoria.
Queen Victoria broke the mould by being the first royal to marry in white.
Now, the young royals are starting a whole new set of wedding trends fit for a modern monarchy.
We see Princess Eugenie wearing these very ostentatious hats, which are really out there. And it really gives the opportunity to all of us to step a little bit more out of the box.
This is your guide to weddings and how to waltz down the aisle like royalty. A wedding is a momentous occasion in any family's life, a once-in-a-lifetime day filled with love, laughter and celebration. But when you're part of Britain's royal family, it's on a scale unlike any other. And it's going to take more than a few glasses of champagne and a quick dash down the aisle to start a life of wedded bliss in style. Every detail will be dissected by an audience around the globe.
The royal weddings are representing Britain, and Britain as it is in that moment. And so we have to get it right because billions of people are going to be watching. And this is great PR for Britain.
They are moments where the nation's bond with the monarchy is reinforced and energised.
We want to get behind them as a nation, a moment of hope, a moment to come together as a nation and to celebrate.
But before you can have a royal wedding, you need a royal engagement. For Britain's first family, popping the question comes with a set of protocols. Rules that date back to George III and the Royal Marriages Act of 1772.
Some of his brothers were getting married to people that he wasn't overly comfortable having in the family. And so George III put in a series of rules and laws that meant that sort of a handful of people at the top of the tree of the order of succession would have to ask permission from the monarch in order to get married. That rule still exists to this day.
Historically, these marriages were geopolitical tools used to cement alliances, broker treaties, and end wars.
So if we think of someone like Catherine of Aragon, she married Prince Henry, later Henry VIII. But the point of Catherine of Aragon was to create an important Spanish alliance between England and Spain. So ultimately, royal marriages really were all about foreign and dynastic power.
British royals have been trying to balance the demands of love, desire and duty ever since.
The Queen herself has said she remembers meeting Philip for the first time. And here you'd got this tall, blonde, blue-eyed, really good-looking prince. How could any girl fail, really, to be taken by this young man?
With his family driven from their native Greece, a young Prince Philip could offer little in terms of political alliances.
Princess Elizabeth would have liked to have married Philip at the age of 18, but there was some opposition. Partly was his German heritage, and there was also a sense that he was dangerously progressive. He was outspoken.
But this didn't stop Elizabeth from falling head over heels for Philip. And in 1947, they were officially engaged. 34 years later, her heir and eldest son, Charles, was under pressure to find not a political, but a socially acceptable match. He settled on a woman 13 years his junior after just a few months of dating.
I asked Diana before she went to Australia 2-3 days before. Because I thought it'd be a good idea that, apart from anything else, if she went to Australia, she could then think about it. And if she didn't like the idea, she could say she didn't, or she did.
Politics and passion aside, a royal engagement is sealed with a ring. The most famous is undoubtedly the bright blue gem presented to Diana in 1981. Today, the striking heirloom adorns the finger of the Duchess of Cambridge.
It's a wonderful Sri Lankan sapphire surrounded by diamonds, and I think it's a way for William and Kate to keep Diana with them, to keep her memory alive.
36 years after his father and 6 years after his brother, in November 2017, Harry, the youngest Windsor prince, proposed to his girlfriend Meghan Markle with an equally beautiful ring.
It happened a few weeks ago, earlier this month, here at our cottage. Just a standard, typical night for us.
It's a cosy night. What were we doing? Just roasting chicken and
Roasting a chicken, trying to roast a chicken.
Trying to roast a chicken, and it was just an amazing surprise. It was so sweet and natural and very romantic. He got on one knee.
Once precious jewels adorn the royal bride's finger, it's time to start planning.
Obviously, the palace is a very vast, capable machine that has staged many a royal wedding over the years, and you know, they do what they do incredibly well.
Former Royal Press Secretary Dickie Arbiter has been in the thick of it at many a royal wedding during his time in service to the Crown.
The press office will be sort of running the press side of it, all the information that needs to come out.
Information like the date, the venue, and the all-important guest list.
Guest list is done by the Lord Chamberlain's office. For example, Charles and Diana, when they got married, because he was heir to the throne, there was very much a list of who must come to the wedding. You know, government ministers, foreign heads of state. So there is a must list when it's an heir to the throne.
In 2011, along with their invitations, Kate and William sent out a detailed 22-page guide to their 1900 ceremony guests.
It was just a general guide of additional information, like anyone would send to their guests. Maybe not 22 pages worth, but you might say, you know, this is where we want you to park. Accommodation is available here. But within that, there was some protocol elements that guests needed to know. For example, you know, no mobile phones. This is what the dress code is, and this is what it means. When the Queen arrives, you are expected to stand, bow, or curtsy if appropriate. And timings, you know, when we would like you to be seated by, because the royal family arrive then.
As head of the royal household, the Lord Chamberlain's office is also responsible for the seating plan and setting the strict dress code.
Most guests go down the morning coat, the morning dress route, which is the sort of the lovely tailcoat, curve-fronted, striped or grey trousers, double-breasted waistcoat of whatever colour, a nice happy colour, it's a wedding, and a necktie and a turned-down shirt. For the men, for ladies, it's a day dress with a hat and probably a jacket over the day dress as well, tights and closed-toe shoes. It's the most formal daytime dress code that exists in Western society.
But there are still opportunities for guests to get creative.
I suppose royal weddings are an opportunity to really push the boat out when it comes to hats. And I think over the years, certainly the royal weddings that I've covered, I've seen some incredible hats, all sorts of shapes, sizes, colours, creations. I'm thinking of, obviously, Princess Beatrice's wedding day hat for William and Kate's wedding, which was compared from everything from, I think, a pretzel to a loo seat.
The rule, though, as a guest, is don't upstage the bride. Inspired couture designer David Emanuel has been dressing brides for over 30 years.
All brides on their wedding day want to look special.
In the late 1970s, David launched a new fashion brand with his then wife, Elizabeth. They caught the eye of Diana Spencer, who was looking for someone to design her wedding dress. But such an honour comes with some serious pressure.
It's going to be watched possibly by 700 million people. Oh, jeepers. So I think with that, you had to have a sense of humour, and Diana had tons of humour. And it was just the three of us getting on with it, really.
With the press following Diana's every move, David knew he and his team would have to work in absolute secrecy.
The blinds came down. We swore our staff to be discreet, which they were incredibly discreet, and got on with the job.
As they beavered away at the lavish gown, the Emanuels followed a tradition started by Queen Victoria. In 1840, she tied the knot in this white wedding dress. It has inspired brides the world over ever since.
Up till then, there was lots of coloured wedding gowns, heavy brocade. And suddenly you had this young, fresh queen. And she wanted simplicity. So she'd asked for Spitalfields satin and Honiton lace. Because her dream, I think, was sort of innocence and purity. And she pulled it off. So she started the trend. And you realize ever since then, people have kind of followed that guide. That's why we have white wedding gowns. It's all because of Queen Victoria.
Alongside the beautiful white fabric, there are a few other essentials needed to create a dress fit for a royal bride.
Let's go full-blown. Tons of fabric, lots of petticoats to make it stand out. That's what you want. You could have a train. It depends, it depends what you want. I'm trying to stress to brides, find the silhouette, keep the silhouette. You know the silhouette works.
Meghan Markle demonstrated in 2018 that slim is in when she wore a slender Givenchy gown to her royal wedding.
Just be aware, if you've got a slim dress, you've got to have a back slit at the back, so be able to walk, obviously.
Form-fitting to the knee, the flourish of fabric below is a truly modern twist for a royal bride.
At the moment, when I'm consulting with brides, they're all hypnotized on this mermaid. So basically, to me, it's old Hollywood. The only thing I say and I tell every bride, if you wear this dress on your wedding day, remember, if you need to go to the loo, you've got to take the whole thing off.
With so many silhouettes to decide between, it's important to remember one thing.
Royal wedding dresses and fashion never stand still. It moves on. Yes, you can look back at the past and admire and cherish and love past royal brides, but a designer's job is to push it forward. So nothing is static. So you've got to take all these things into consideration.
Diana's dress was of its time, the 1980s, but adorned with 10,000 pearls and embroidered with antique lace, it echoed that of Queen Victoria's over 140 years previously. But the world would have to wait to see the finished article. Weddings are special days the world over, but they are not without their logistical challenges. Yet the work that goes into planning a royal wedding is a step beyond and unlike any other event on the monarchy's calendar.
So from the moment that the engagement is announced and the date is set, it is basically all hands to deck, planning one huge, momentous wedding.
A vital part of any wedding are the flowers. As far back as ancient Rome, flowers have played an integral part in wedding ceremonies, where scented herbs and spices were used to ward off evil spirits.
And at Harry and Meghan's wedding, they had designed an archway of flowers. So when they emerged out of St. George's Chapel after they'd got married, the photo opportunity was absolutely wonderful. I mean, I was in the chapel before. Not only did it smell absolutely beautiful, it looked fantastic.
Creating such a botanical bonanza requires an incredible level of skill and expertise. In 1999, florist extraordinaire Sue Barnes was tasked with creating the flowers for the wedding of His Royal Highness Prince Edward and Sophie Rhys-Jones.
The creations have to be wonderful, have to say something about the couple, and have to be right for the venues. And with the royal family, the venues are huge.
Over 20,000 flowers were used on the day, including Casablanca lilies and Margaret Merrill English garden roses. Despite the scale, Sue wanted to create something that felt intimate for the royal couple.
You went through the rood screen into the main part where the ceremony took place, and there were 10,000 sweet peas in that part alone, and the smell was just incredible.
Sue also had to contend with another logistical challenge.
I have never had to consider, when decorating a cathedral or a church, 32 camera angles before, so that was quite something.
Today, royal weddings are huge global events, live-streamed across the world. But that was not always the case. The first royal wedding to be televised was that of Princess Margaret, the Queen's younger sister, in 1960.
Pomp, pageantry and splendour are revived for this day in austerity-ridden London, a day which the world shares with Britain.
She married Anthony Armstrong Jones at Westminster Abbey. An audience of over 300 million people across the world tuned in to watch the momentous occasion.
Princess Margaret's wedding was groundbreaking. The media coverage of it, it was the first time in 13 years since her sister had married that there was a royal wedding. There were flagpoles flying white silk banners with Margaret and Tony's initials within Tudor roses all the way along the route to Westminster Abbey. It was extraordinary. And it was because Princess Margaret was so greatly loved.
This vast number was then eclipsed by the wedding of Prince Charles and Lady Diana in 1981. It is estimated to have been seen by a staggering 750 million people. Key to the success of a royal wedding is choosing the right venue.
Before the 1800s, the royal weddings were traditionally kind of private family occasions. They would take place in the Chapel Royal. And it was really at the turn of the 19th century onwards that we see the royal weddings becoming these big spectacles, these public occasions, which we associate absolutely with the monarchy today.
It depends on where you are in the pecking order. The lower down you are, the less of a big wedding it is.
For the smaller, sort of more intimate weddings, and I say more intimate, still hundreds of people, the more intimate St George's Chapel is perfect for that.
It's a wonderful place, got a wonderful atmosphere and a tremendous sense of history. It's been here for over 900 years and been continuously occupied during all that time.
As well as Prince Edward, most recently in May 2018, Prince Harry married at St George's Chapel, followed by Princess Eugenie in October that year. But since 1100, when King Henry I married Matilda of Scotland, the venue of choice for Britain's first family has been Westminster Abbey in London. This magnificent building can seat 2,000 guests and has played host to 16 royal weddings, including the Queen's in 1947 and most recently, Prince William's. But if you really want to pull out all the stops,
Charles and Diana got married at St Paul's Cathedral because it holds even more people than Westminster Abbey, and there was so much attention on that wedding because Charles was, and still is, the direct heir to the throne.
the night before a royal wedding, an expectant buzz builds around the couple's chosen venue.
magic of the build-up to a royal wedding, it's really something special. I remember being in London the night before William and Kate got married, and there had been a lovely scene in the Mall because William and Harry had gone out and done some meeting and greeting completely unexpectedly with a load of people that were camped out there overnight with sleeping bags.
The tradition of camping out before a royal wedding is a long-established one for loyal fans, including at the wedding of Princess Margaret in 1960.
Do you have any trouble keeping this area free tomorrow, do you think?
Oh, I don't think so, no. I shouldn't think so anyway.
At the marriage of Princess Anne to Mark Phillips in 1973, a young Chris Warwick wanted to be as close to the action as possible.
We wanted front row place to see the wedding processions and so on. And so we got there in the early hours. It was a very cold November night. But we weren't alone. In those days, you could actually stake your claim right on the curb.
As the crowds are gathering, florists, caterers, bakers, designers, police and press all descend, working around the clock to ensure everything is ready for the big day. But the royal bride sees none of this. She's closeted away to allow her to prepare in relative peace. Kate and Meghan both stayed in exclusive five-star hotels.
Well, traditionally, royal brides spend the night away from their future spouses, and it makes the element of surprise when they meet at the altar all the more lovely. And in Meghan's case, she stayed at Clifton before her wedding night. Kate stayed at the Goring Hotel, a stone's throw from Buckingham Palace, and had a wonderful party with her family, the Middletons, and her closest friends, and a lovely bridal party before her wedding day.
At long last, the morning of the wedding dawns.
Obviously, there's a huge amount of planning that goes into the dress, the makeup, the hair. And goodness knows how frenzied that morning is. I think actually the people that work with Princess Diana say that they had wheeled in a television and Diana's getting ready while the TV is on, reporting what's going on outside, and it must have been really surreal.
A wedding day would not be complete without some last-minute dramas. Disaster struck on the morning of the Queen's nuptials in 1947 when, as she got ready, her tiara snapped.
There was a moment of panic so that they could get the jeweller into the palace to mend the band of this tiara.
The tiara in question started life as a spectacular necklace. In 1893, Queen Victoria purchased it and gave it to Princess Mary on the occasion of her wedding to the future King George V. To this day, the piece can still be worn as a tiara or a necklace.
If you actually look at some of the photographs taken afterwards, particularly one of Princess Elizabeth and Prince Philip leaving the Abbey after the wedding, look at the tiara, and it's not quite entirely central, but that was a little obstacle that was overcome.
Accessories like the tiara are essential for any royal bride, the most important of which is the bouquet.
This is fairly similar to the size of Kate Middleton's bouquet, for example, and it's a perfectly wired bouquet.
In contrast to the conventional bouquet, a wired bouquet has the thick and cumbersome flower stems removed and replaced by wires.
So if Laura comes over, she can say exactly how she does it. So the wire's inserted into the middle of the stem, and then there's a cross-hatch wire. You bring the two sides down together, and then you secure it with a tape that's called parafilm. And you pull that, you stretch it out, so it's sort of elasticated, and it binds two wires together. And it gives you a stem that's as long, really, as you want it to be.
Using this method, flowers can be tightly fitted into a beautiful, compact display.
If you look at the back, the exquisite finish of this means that there are probably 60 different flower wires on that, which from the front you don't see at all. It's just a perfect shape, whatever that shape is designed to be.
The flowers included in the bouquet should be personal to the bride. But even so, there are traditions to uphold, and a royal bouquet will always have a sprig of myrtle.
Ever since Queen Victoria's bouquet, there has always been some myrtle. In the early days, from the myrtle that was planted at Osborne House, which is where Albert and Victoria lived. The reason being that myrtle is the herb of love, and it stands for love, devotion, and longevity, I think it is.
As the bride makes her final preparations, a nervous groom and his entourage make their way to the church dressed in all their finery.
Grooms at royal weddings, particularly if they are blood members of the royal family, will wear a military uniform. It doesn't always happen. The non-royal grooms that we've had recently, such as Eduardo and Jack, they have been in morning dress when they have married their royal brides.
In 2011, Prince William wore the red tunic of the Colonel of the Irish Guards to his wedding, a position that he had been promoted to just 2 months previously. Bouquet in hand, camera set, guests and groom at the church, it's time to head for the aisle. Hours and minutes before a royal wedding are filled with nervous energy, as the groom and the nation anxiously await the arrival of the bridal procession. As the royal bride slowly makes her way to the venue, thousands of adoring fans line the route to catch a glimpse as she rides past. In 2011, Kate Middleton travelled to Westminster Abbey in the former #1 state Rolls-Royce Phantom 6.
I think for Kate it was important that she arrived at the church in a different manner, and that was in a royal car with her father, which of course gave her that moment in what was otherwise an incredibly public day to have a private moment with her father. So one can only imagine that it was probably a very special, sentimental and happy journey for her.
It has been a tradition for future queens and princesses to arrive in all the pomp and pageantry of a horse-drawn carriage.
Charles and Diana's was a state occasion. Generally, there's just more of everything at a state. There might be more horses or guards in processions. There are more guests. It's a bigger venue. Usually there are potentially bank holidays or extra bank holidays put in because it is a day of the state.
It's never easy keeping a wedding on schedule. From wardrobe malfunctions to traffic jams, getting the bride to the church on time is often a logistical nightmare. Unless, of course, you're marrying into the monarchy. At Harry and Meghan's wedding in 2018, a team of over 3,000 police officers, including snipers and undercover agents, were deployed to ensure the day went without a hitch. With the route safely navigated, it's time. The big moment has arrived. The assembled masses hold their breath, and the bride steps out onto the steps of the church. Whilst the bridal party assembles, broadcasters and commentators across the world begin to describe to the millions watching all-important details of the dress, embargoed until this very moment.
This is not to be reported until the bride has appeared outside St George's Chapel or Westminster Abbey. You'll be then given the dress is by X, Y and Z. It is made of X, Y and Z.
Every girl who picks up a newspaper or magazine or online, they'll get inspired by it and they'll go, I want to dress like that.
The dresses are instant trendsetters, with brides the world over taking fashion cues from the look.
If you look at Princess Margaret's wedding dress, I think it's fascinating because it looked like a Christian Dior dress. It was stunning, but it was actually made by the royal couturier Sir Norman Hartnell. So it harked back to the Queen Mother and the Queen's own wedding dresses.
Meghan did a really good job of kind of subverting a lot of the kind of tradition in wedding dresses because she chose to wear white. And we know that traditionally white is usually for a bride who is the first time she's being married.
Kate's dress, I mean, there was something so sort of classically elegant about it. The lace, it's so demure, but at the same time actually quite sexy because of the whole kind of sweetheart nature of the top, like heart-shaped.
I think that Diana is 100% the original style icon. Her wedding dress was the perfect example of demonstrating that she was not afraid to take risks, that she was not afraid to be unorthodox, to be out of the box in a way. And I think that that level of bravery as a young woman, with the whole world watching her every single move, really must have been and still is extremely empowering to all women.
As the bride steps into the church, it's a final chance for any little adjustments before she heads down the aisle.
Elizabeth and I were hiding behind the pillars. At a certain given time, we could step in. So we stepped in and zhuzhed. In the fashion world, you zhuzh. You straighten out the veil, you straighten out the frills, you straighten out the train. We zhuzhed away. And then I had the fortune, gave Diana her bouquet, and I whispered a few words to her, and off she glided.
But just what those words were, David isn't sharing. Then begins the long walk down the aisle. At Westminster Abbey, it's 91 metres, as long as a football pitch. Grooms as far back as King Richard II in the 14th century have anxiously watched their brides traverse the length of the magnificent church, which can take 4 minutes.
Sometimes the most important commentary is when you actually shut up and just let the viewer watch what is unfolding. Once you get that moment of walking down the aisle and the music starts playing, actually all that's required is total silence.
Once the bride is down the aisle, the ceremony itself can begin. The original wedding vows can be found in the Book of Common Prayer, which dates back to 1549. Traditionally, a senior member of the Church of England leads the couples through this sacred moment.
I, Charles Philip Arthur George,
take thee, Anne Elizabeth Annis Louise,
to my wedded wife,
for richer, for poorer,
till death us do part.
and thereto I plight thee my troth.
Bless, O Lord, this ring.
Another deeply symbolic and traditional moment at a royal wedding is the exchanging of rings. Since the late Queen Mother's wedding in 1923, all the bride's wedding bands have contained Welsh gold mined in Dolgellau, North Wales.
With this ring I thee wed.
However, no ring at all for the men. Traditionally, royal grooms don't wear a wedding band, apart from a few exceptions.
Prince Harry has worn a wedding ring, a symbol of his breaking away from royal tradition. And Prince Charles, we know, layers his wedding ring on his little finger, on his pinky finger, underneath the gold signet ring that he wears all the time. I think that's a lovely way of keeping tradition and breaking with tradition.
Another custom that began with the Queen Mother in 1923 is the unusual fate of the bridal bouquet after the ceremony.
The protocol or the expectation is that the bride leaves the bouquet on the tomb of the unknown warrior in Westminster Abbey. It was the Queen Mother when she married Prince Albert, as he was then, later George VI. Supposedly something had gone wrong. There was a sort of a a moment where almost she needed to fill or do something, and so she decided to do that as a bit of a, well, I don't know what to do, I'll just do this type of thing. And of course, as with everything, it's become a tradition.
Vows taken and promises made. It's now back down the aisle and into a waiting horse-drawn carriage for that long-anticipated procession through the streets, waving to the massed crowds as husband and wife at last. Every royal wedding is filled with pomp and ceremony, from the military escorts to the traditional Church of England vows. But there's still one moment the crowds are desperate for. In 1981, after Charles and Diana's wedding ceremony, a new tradition was born when, for the very first time, newlyweds kissed on the balcony of Buckingham Palace. To the ecstatic cheers of the crowd below.
I think the kiss on the balcony is the highlight of a royal wedding. I certainly remember at William and Kate's wedding, when there was not one but two kisses, the applause from the crowds was just something else. It was thunderous. They just went wild.
Once public duties are over, it's time for the wedding breakfast. This formal function is attended by the Queen and hundreds of VIP guests. It's a chance for the newlyweds to privately share a glass of bubbly with their guests and breathe a sigh of relief.
The after ceremony is always more off limits, and journalistically it's much more challenging because you've got to work even harder to find out what's gone on.
Over the years, a few surprising moments have wound their way into the public domain, including one from the wedding breakfast of Prince Charles and his second wife, Camilla Parker Bowles, in 2005.
A hugely significant moment at Windsor Guildhall, but made even more significant by this speech by the Queen, likening them both to horses taking part in the Grand National and sort of clearing Beeches Brook and getting to the finish line and acknowledging that it hadn't been easy, but actually they were better together than apart. I mean, it's that kind of detail that you're trying to get, but of course that the royals don't really want you to have, which makes it a challenge.
One part of the formal wedding breakfast the public and the press are party to is the cake. These extravagant creations not only have to wow visually, they also have to abide by the royal adage, best of British.
Princess Anne's had been made by the Army Catering Corps. You know, so there were always kind of links to companies that were used, royal warrant holders, or in Princess Anne's case, there was the military link because Mark was in the army.
It's just as important that a cake tastes as beautiful or as delicious as it is beautiful, because there's absolutely no point in making it in the first place if it doesn't. So I always say neither is more important than the other, they're equal.
Luxury cake maker Fiona Cairns knows just how much work is involved in making a royal wedding cake. In 2011, she was commissioned to make one for the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge's wedding.
The wedding cake was 17 cakes, 17 individual fruit cakes. It was actually 8 tiers and all decorated with different flowers and symbols. And all of these had to be made, all the cakes had to be baked. So we picked a team that we thought was best for putting the cake together.
Fiona and her team are known throughout the UK for their fruitcakes.
If there was to be a dream brief for us as a business, this was it. It really was, because the cake was to be a fruit cake, which is very traditional in royal wedding cakes, up until more recently, Harry and Meghan had a lemon and elderflower sponge cake.
The extensive list of ingredients for a royal fruitcake includes flour, eggs, sugar, as well as spices such as cinnamon and nutmeg, molasses, and an abundance of dried fruits are essential, as is brandy. William and Kate's wedding cake stood over a metre high and included 17 different types of sugarwork flowers.
Kate was very interested in the language of flowers, which goes back centuries actually. I think the Romans used the language of flowers idea, but the Victorians popularised it so that many flowers have a meaning. So a rose means love, or ivy, marriage.
Making the delicate icing flowers is a real labour of love.
Here we have a few examples of the flowers that we made for the royal wedding cake. Very appropriate are the acorns and the oak leaves, which is actually the Middleton's coat of arms. And this is Sweet William, Grant Me One Smile. We made quite a few of those. And then the lily of the valley, which was so important to the royal wedding, not just to the cake, but was the flower that was used to decorate in the abbey, and also was the flower that was in Kate's bouquet.
Meaning humility, chastity, purity, and sweetness. Lily of the Valley has been an important flower at many royal weddings. Fiona and her team made over 1,000 delicate icing flowers for the cake, each one patiently crafted by hand.
Do you want to start off, Chandra, by making the lily of the valley?
Yep, I can do that first.
Tiniest flower, isn't it?
Start by rolling the flower paste between your fingers. Then start shaping the petals of the flower around a central ball.
What I would say is you just need a huge amount of patience to make these flowers, but it's actually a very therapeutic thing to do. It's a lovely thing to do, actually. Even when you've got to make hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, as we do.
Once shaped, skewer onto modelling wire. Repeat the process until you have enough sugar flowers to combine into a single stem. Once all the elements for Will's and Kate's cake had been completed, they were brought to Buckingham Palace. Here, Fiona spent 2 days assembling the epic construction.
As we were finishing it, I remember somebody within Buckingham Palace came to tell me that Her Majesty was coming to visit us, and I thought, oh my goodness. It was so exciting, but it was also, I couldn't quite believe it. She came and she was very charming, but she did know that a door had been removed from the kitchen downstairs because we couldn't get the trolley through, which had the cake on it, without taking the door down. So she said, I hear you've been dismantling my house, which was quite amusing.
Over 600 slices of fruitcake were pre-cut and served to guests at the wedding. But there was still some spare for some very regal wedding favours.
We did make also 4,000 little tins of fruitcake, and that is a tradition that was begun by Queen Victoria. So slices of fruitcake were put into these little tins, and they were sent out as gifts from the Duke and Duchess of Cornwall to commemorate the wedding.
As the VIP guests sip champagne and nibble cake, street parties and other revelries are taking place across the nation as the British public celebrate in spirit with royal newlyweds.
Here in Brampton in Cumbria, they've been doing street parties since 1887, so they know how to do them. They put this one on to mark the wedding, and we've got a band, we've got dancing, we've got trestle tables and sandwiches.
And it's not just the UK who are celebrating.
It is the countries and realms within the Commonwealth. It's America. It becomes a global affair.
And each new wedding seems to come with a new tradition. In 2011, Prince Charles lent one of his priceless classic cars to William to drive down the Mall with his new bride.
You couldn't plan at William and Kate's for them coming out in the Aston Martin just outside Buckingham Palace. Nobody knew that was happening, so it's just a lovely surprise.
And the trend has caught on. From the original trendsetter, Queen Victoria, to our future monarch, Prince William, royals have been breaking and creating wedding precedents for centuries.
The monarchy has always had to walk a fine line between continuity and tradition and evolution, and it's changed over time gradually in order to embrace the modern age. But at the same time, it's needed to base its legitimacy really on the fact that it is this age-old institution that's built on centuries of precedent, protocol and tradition.
From historic cathedrals to designer dresses, the royals really know how to combine new ideas with ancient history when it comes to tying the knot. Trend-setting and tradition aside, millions of people all over the world tune in to celebrate these momentous events in all their pomp and ceremony. And as each new generation of royals joins in the bond of holy matrimony, they will likely add their own stamp to the rich tapestry of this most ancient and traditional of ceremonies.